Howick in Auckland is the venue this afternoon for a major Supercross meeting. Our man on the spot is Tony Palmer.
Good afternoon and welcome to our Supercross course here at Howick on the outskirts of Auckland. Basically the same course as last year, but made a little more spectacular. The jump's a little higher, and with some overnight rain, it's going to be slippery on the landings as well. Basically the weather is in really good spirits here today. It looks like it's going to stay fine all day, and of course the course will dry up and get a little better as the day goes on. Top competitors here from all over the country, and quite a big contingent from Tahiti as well. Better prize money than last year, $12,000 up from $10,000 last year. We'll have about 4 races on air for you, and we'll be on air round about 4 o'clock this afternoon.
Faster corners and higher jumps, so we should see some spectacular action. Let's join our commentator now, Tony Palmer.
Well, we've watched some of the practice here at the Supercross course, and already it's proving to be rather a difficult course with a few tricky bits and pieces on landings, particularly with the overnight rain making it slippery on top. Co-commentator again this year is Blair Carpenter, and Blair, probably the best field of riders we've seen since this event last year.
Really good, Tony. The riders from all over New Zealand and Tahiti as well. It's fantastic. The best of New Zealand riders here.
I gather Terry Meeks has been enticed out of retirement again. What an amazing rider.
Fantastic, Tony. Yeah, Terry hasn't ridden since November last year, early December. 2 weeks ago he bought a bike and did one meeting, and he was here today, and in practice he looks really good, setting the pace, and man to watch again in the 125 class here today.
And of the open class again, good to see Murray Anderson back again after a rather nasty spill in the last televised meeting we did.
Yeah, Murray's been riding for about 2 or 3 weeks now since his injury, and he looks good. So he did well in the meeting in Christchurch 2 weeks ago.
What about this course? It looks like it might be a little bit tricky just watching practice.
Especially the quads there, Tony. Yeah, they've put these in since last year, and they've made them really tricky, really steep and high, and timing is important. It's going to be very exciting to watch, for sure.
And I just wanted to do it, the double jump there, riding over both of them rather than leaping until somebody had had a go, and then they all started.
That's right. It's one of those things you've got to build up to it.
Got to get the confidence first.
That's right.
First race we'll be looking at is the 125, and once again it is that man enticed out of retirement, Terry Meeks. Despite his lack of recent riding experience, he's the man to watch in the 125. The man to beat in the 125 class certainly is Terry Meeks, the local here from Howick at 27 years old, 3 times New Zealand 125 champion, and he won all 3 125 heats in last year's Supercross. This is Ken Vernadon from Tahiti, letter K he'll be riding under. He's only 16 years old, is reputed to have a very wild and woolly loose style, so he should be spectacular to watch on the Honda CR 125. Letter TT, Terry Thierry from Tahiti on the CR 125 Honda is 17 years old, and he again is one of those riders who is described as loose or crazy, depending on which point of view you have. He attacks everything under full power. Another leading competitor in the 125 class, John Penny, number 25 on the CR 125 Honda. He's an 18-year-old apprentice engineer from Taupo. Another of the Tahitians here, riding under letter C, Vitia Cowan, who's 17 years old, riding a Suzuki RM 125, one of which he's already blown up since the Tahitians arrived here last Sunday. As you can see, no shortage of leading competitors here at Howick for the home-style Supercross. An excellent course with a lot of traps in it for young players. In this 125 class, the first race of the day for us, watch out for number 8, who is Terry Meeks. He's the local, he's right in the middle of that field there. You'll see a little V formation. There's Terry Meeks, number 8 there. Number 31, Jody Bates beside him. And a couple of the unknown quantities are the Tahitians here. We've heard that they're very quick, but nobody here has seen them go before, so we can't really make any predictions on that basis. Peter Cowan is the rider in this one. He's only 17 years old, but he does ride every day. Blair Carpenter, that amount of riding that they get is probably going to dictate how well they go on this course.
Yes, Tony, the Tahitians really ride a lot, every day during the week practicing. But this style of track here is a little bit different than they're used to. They're used to a very hard-packed surface, very dry. It's very slippery here today. It's going to be very interesting to see how they go.
There's the mass start for the 125, first race of the day.
Number 8, Terry Meeks, straight into the lead there with a beautiful hole shot. Right beside the number 11, Daryl King on another Honda CR25. These 2 riders straight in front.
Oh, just look at the style of this man, Terry Meeks. And we've had a big spill there. 4 riders out. Two of them look like they'll get going again, and Terry Meeks has had an off.
Looks like Meeks went off the circuit there. The bottom berm, the bottom part of the circuit, be number 11. Number 11, Daryl King, must be in second place. Number 25.
John Penny. John Penny up there very, very quickly. Taken over the lead. Terry Meeks, the man we expected to lead. He led out, got the whole shot, but just went a little wide on the bottom berm and through the barrier. So he's had to come back, and he's going to have the work in front of him now to make it up again.
This will make a race of it, Tony. Number 11, Daryl King, right behind Penny there. Number 11, Daryl King, riding all three classes here today. Three bikes.
It'll be intriguing to see how long it takes Terry Meeks to catch them back up again, and if he can get that lead again.
King goes through into the lead. Number 11, Daryl King here. With John Penny still in second place there. Put a foot wrong, coming through the tricky whoop-de-doo section. But it's King. Up the big long straightaway now. This is slightly uphill, very damp, soft underneath, very saps the horsepower of the little 125.
In many respects, it's actually more difficult to ride a 125 or a smaller bike here than a big one with low down front and good torque to get out of the boggy pieces. Very tricky operation to ride a 125 around this course.
125s are very peaky. Got to change a lot of gears to make the most of the power. They're very fast in the power band, but off the power band, they are very slow indeed. Constant clutch slipping needed.
He's the North Island Junior champ, Daryl King, only 16 years old. The current 125 North Island Junior champion. And actually started riding, would you believe, at the age of 3. He's also competing on a 250 machine today here on the same course.
Got a beautiful style there, Tony, sliding the bike around those slippery turns, well in control.
He's one of the new breed of young riders coming up with a very natural style. Nothing looks like it's an effort.
He's pulling away from second place man, John Penny now. Pulling quite a handy lead over Penny now.
Well, last year on this course, Terry Meeks won all 3 of the 125 races and really never looked like being headed. He made a mistake in the early stages of lap 1, and he's dropped down now to 5th place.
A big distance back, Tony. A big little distance back to 3rd place man, just coming through now.
Daryl King from John Penny. John Penny, another youngster, 18 years old. He's from Taupō. He's the New Zealand Miniature TT, the flat track champion, last year and this year, and was 5th in the Nationals overall in 125.
King's got a beautiful style there. I see he's learning the Australian and American technique now of locking up the back wheel, brake sliding into the corner, and then building the revs and dumping the clutch to rock it out of the turn as fast as possible.
Isn't it phenomenal how many 16 and 17-year-olds we've got riding this well, looking as though they've been on bikes all their life.
Already lapping riders now. Beautiful line around that berm there. Lays the bike right over. Dials on the power.
Alan Smaller from Tauranga just being overtaken, being lapped already. Well, Daryl King is going to take some chasing. Obviously, on a course like this, mistakes can be made at any time. Your lead is never really safe unless you're absolutely on top of it with total concentration all the time. So easy to lose it.
Really picking his line really well, Tony. He's using his head and getting the lowest line over the jump. Notice that. No need to take a very high section. Throws you in the air. No spectacular jumps here. Just getting us down to earth and getting the power on the ground.
The race leader still number 11, Daryl King. Coming round now at the back of this bunch. Just have a look at how much quicker he's going than the back markers. Being able to lap them inside 3 laps, that's quite an accomplishment. There is a good spread of rider ability here, an enormous range of experience as well, but it just goes to show how much quicker
these front runners are than some of the people they're competing against.
Just can't wait to see how he's going to go later on in the bigger classes. This is going to be really interesting too.
Obviously his form and confidence is good today. It'll be intriguing to see how he goes on a T50 against some very big, tough opposition. Just look at how much that's cutting up now. It is actually drying out the course, cutting it up that much, because it's only really the upper surface that is really wet. And it should get a little harder as the day goes on, and therefore faster.
Very fit-looking rider, Tony, too. He's throwing the bike round.
Oh, there's really no stopping him today. He's away with this race. As we said, it takes absolute concentration to stay upright on a circuit like this, but riding at the pace he is, he's going for it. Often it's when the riders slow off the pace that the concentration lapses.
I think he's just spent so much time on a motorcycle, sliding around in the mud, that it comes so natural to him now. He doesn't have to concentrate that hard. He just a born natural.
Going around to the left-hander now, the big sweeper. We haven't seen hide nor hair of Terry Meeks since he dropped off the pace and had an off. Still Darrell King. He's really got those stutter bumps sorted out very well indeed, hasn't he?
He's got the line sorted out, Tony. He's got the right line through them.
None of them is getting any harsher treatment than the others. They're all very evenly ridden. They're 10-minute races today, so that when they get to 10 minutes, they finish the lap they're on. That's the normal procedure. Or if they're right near the start-finish line when 10 minutes comes up, they'll get a white flag for one more lap.
Look how deep some of those ruts are getting around those corners. Oops, this will be tricky.
Ooh, nicely negotiated. Now that's a sign of confidence too, to be able to hop through there and get through the gaps.
Look at the wheel standing out of that berm there on a little 125. Fantastic.
When you consider how soft this track is and how quickly he's getting around on the 125, it's phenomenal riding.
It is, Tony. Nice laid-back style on that berm there. Make sure you get the weight back and all the power to the ground.
Not quite as much mud being thrown up now, so the visors are generally staying a little cleaner than earlier in practice.
Talking to some of the riders, I reckon the track's getting a lot softer, but the mud is packing down into a very puggy type. I'm not getting thrown around, but still very soft, sapping the horsepower of the bikes, making them sapping the horsepower from them along the straight line, straight away.
There's the white flag. So all Darrell King has got to do is stay upright in this winning style to take the first race of the day, the 125. Second and third are so far back they don't really matter at the moment. Obviously they will, the placings for points later in the day. But there's no question Darrell King is the man to beat on the day on the 125. We'll have to update the placings for you at the end of the race. But watching the winning style of Darrell King coming around to complete his last lap, the 16-year-old on the CR125 Honda, who has ridden so beautifully in this race.
waiting now for the winner to come through, number 11, Daryl King.
Plenty of distance to be had off that jump in the main front straight as Daryl King comes around now.
2 corners to go now for a race leader, an almost certain race winner, number 11, Daryl King from New Plymouth.
Couple of back markers and negotiators. He gets past the checkered flag, but no question of the winner, Daryl King, benefiting from Terry Meeks early off, took over the lead at the end of the second lap and held it to the end of the race. Superbly ridden. We'll check the placings and confirmation of those for you in just a moment. And the official results of the first race of the day, the 125, Daryl King, number 11 on the CR125 Honda. From in second place, Martin Baker on the KX125 Kawasaki. And in third place, number 32, Brendan Myers on the RM125 Suzuki. The 250 and over, 250 and 500 bikes. A couple of people to watch very closely here. One of the favourites in the 250 and open class, Murray Anderson, the plumber and fitness manager from Stokes Valley, who had a rather nasty crash in our last televised meeting at Forbury Park in Dunedin. Injured his neck, but he is back, has ridden last weekend, and good form for today on the YZ490 Yamaha. One of the very sharp 250 riders on the YZ250, Tony Cooksley from Papakura, 29 years old, and should have the measure of the Tahitians, having raced over there. Showing from his torso guards that there's lots of mud flying on this wet course today. Letter R, Rafael Bono from Tahiti in the Kawasaki KX250. He's just 18 years of age.
Bigger bikes normally have the advantage off the start, especially on a slightly uphill, very soft start like this.
So watch for the bigger bikes to come through from behind. It's been said by most riders that a 500 is worth using here today. There are cases where a 250 can be as fast as a 500 on some circuits. On this one, because of the bog and mud, it's going to pay to have the horsepower and to have the low down power or torque to get out of corners and to get the power on the ground very quickly.
Number 15, David Furs on the YZ250. Goes straight into the lead there. Nice hole shot. Can't pick up the other places at the moment, but
David Furs very, very quickly into the lead. He was perhaps the dark horse for this race, and it's just a question of whether or not the 250 is as quick as the 490s, 500s today.
number 20, Scott Smith, there in second place. He got another good start on his 250. How will the big bikes come through? This is going to be interesting.
It may take them at least a lap or so to make their way through, having started on the second line of the grid. But there should be, looking at this course, and it's uphill and down dale and the boggy mud, it should be an advantage to have the horsepower and torque.
Look who's coming through, Tony, in second place there. There he goes. Number T, another 250. Tony Cooksley from Auckland, he's coming through into second place now, past Scott Smith.
Tony Cooksley, another of those that we were picking to be right up in front and running. Still waiting for a couple of the bigger bikes to come through. Warren Timpson is one we should be looking for, and Murray Anderson. Ross Saunders in there as well. And Tony Cooksley up in second place now, the 29-year-old from Papakura, who has raced in Europe and in Tahiti. He's the Auckland 250 champion, riding the Yamaha YZ250.
Tony Cooksley going really well now, starting to put some pressure on first place man, David Furs now. Totally different line, goes right to the outside of the track. Furs on the inside.
Really is an amazing difference in lines between these two, isn't it?
That's right, especially on a muddy track like this, the track can vary so much from one side to the other.
Cooksley obviously thinks there's a little more traction or advantage out wide. David Furs taking the central lines and the shortest route.
Beautiful jump there by Tony Cooksley. Went really high, but the distance wasn't quite enough to put him through into the lead. But he's really putting pressure on Furs now.
And he's through? Or is he?
Tight hairpin corner, no. Trying to pass on the outside. Furs is there. Where are the big bikes, Tony? Have they come through?
Still looking back, and there is a big gap.
Number 11 there.
Daryl King again.
Yeah.
just completed a race on the 125, straight out again in the next race on a 250. And with his riding form that we've already seen a glimpse of today, he could be up there with the leaders very quickly indeed. We haven't yet seen a big bike through. Well, it seems that the manoeuvrability of the 250s might be a match for the power of the 500s today, despite predictions from the riders of 500s earlier on. David Furze still holding on to that lead, extending it a little now. He's getting excellent traction. I wonder if this upper surface of slippery wet stuff has come off quicker than they expected.
The damp stuff, when it holds together really tight like it's doing now, it does afford good traction in a straight line, Tony. A little bit slippery when you turn. Oops, somebody...
Just a little mistake from Furze. We're not quite sure if he's off then or not. We'll catch up with him in just a moment. But I think Tony Cooksley might have come through.
That's Tony Cooksley there. Tony Cooksley must have...
Or is it Tony Cooksley? May in fact have been Terry Meeks.
Number 15, David Furze, still in the lead, still in control.
He really looked as though he had lost an enormous margin to second place there, halfway through the last lap. But very quickly on it again. Quite deceptive, some of these corners, where he's actually coming to a standstill and getting out of them very quickly.
That's right. Australian and American style again. Lock up the back wheel, bring in the clutch.
Slow entry and fast exit.
That's right. Look who's coming through in second place, number 11 there. Daryl King on the CR250 Honda. He's made up quite a bit of ground now.
And of course, Daryl King's immediate circuit knowledge is going to be better at this very moment than David Furze's, because he's already had one race on the 125. He must know every line around here. He must know where it's quicker to go.
Number 15, David Furze, still in the lead there.
Really a day for the natural riders.
And number 20 there, Scott Smith, still in third place, not far away. A good race.
Furze, King, Smith is the order. Halfway through the 10-minute race. Really becoming quite apparent how much David Furze is slowing for these corners. Very slow entry and fast exit. But he seems to be able to get the traction to get out of them quick enough to stay ahead of the competitors. Just balked a little by a back marker then. And well and truly into the gaggle of back markers that he's got a lap.
Still picking his lines really well, the lower side of the jumps. Nice clean lines around the circuit and around the left riders.
You certainly wouldn't describe him as a spectacular or loose style of rider. A very particular and precise stylist.
Still number 11, Daryl King there in second place.
Daryl King, a lap ago, looked to be making up more than he has now.
I think David Furze is just so good at getting through the left riders, Tony.
He really does use traffic well, doesn't he?
Very deliberate style when he's lapping riders.
So here's Furze now, here's King. There's about 5 or 6 metres between them. And still Smith in third place.
He's dropped back quite a bit off the pace now.
Smith's starting to drop back in third. The battle really first and second. It may be affected by this traffic, although Furze seems to be making better use of the traffic than King does. We'll have a look as they come around this time. I think there's still a good 7, maybe 8 metres between them now. Here's David Furze. Seems to be a young man's day today. The older, more experienced riders not faring as well as the young natural riders. And with an obstacle course such as this for stadium motocross, it perhaps doesn't come down as much to experience and stamina as the brilliance of some of these natural riders who can instantaneously pick the quickest line and retain their balance at the most awkward of moments. Look at Furst now, he's made up about 10 metres. That's almost 20 metres he has now on Daryl King.
A lot of these younger riders these days, Tony, have come through the junior ranks, and some of them have done 10 years riding. So they're in a way very experienced and still young, and that's best of both worlds.
Yellow flag, of course, indicating that somebody's had it off on the other side of that jump. Number 110.
Doug Stockwell on the CR 500 Honda. He's just been lapped.
It's one of the bigger bikes that is well down the order, and we have yet to see a big bike come through into the placings. Still 250s dominating. David Furst still in first place. Daryl King still in second place from Smith in third. Might end up being a good day for Daryl King. First in the 125 race, looking like a second in this one.
See that bike leaping. Just imagine trying to hang on to a bike like that. Like people who haven't ridden much motocross, the bikes fly through there. Make it look so easy. Hanging on to those bikes is really difficult. Takes a lot of control and fitness.
I notice that where David Furst is making up a lot of ground, pulling away a lot, is in that front straightaway. He's really just flat out all the way. Seems to be getting traction to the ground, and he doesn't really slow off or anything.
No, the jumps, he holds on over the jumps, he doesn't shut off for anything. That's right, Tony.
Looking back now, there's Daryl King, still in second place, but really not within cooey of David Furst to challenge him. He's nowhere near close enough to look like challenging or chasing. He's going to have to rely on David Furst making a mistake when he doesn't.
King must be a fantastic rider to shift from a 125 and 2 minutes later be on a 250. Different riding styles, totally different bikes, but he adapts really well.
The only thing of any help to him is his knowledge in immediate terms of the circuit from 5 minutes before, but there again, that may not relate to a 250, where it related to a 125 in terms of line.
Doing some high jumps now.
Really been a super race from David Furst, the 17-year-old apprentice carpenter from New Plymouth, who's come up, taken the white flag this time around. He's already showed out brilliant form in the 1985 season. No longer competing in junior ranks, with the big boys here today and showing them the way. The Yamaha YZ 250L. Hanging on that very fast pace. Lap times remarkably consistent for a track as rough as this. Still getting plenty of air.
A track like this, Tony, really shows the difference in abilities of riders in motocross. It's not machine, it's still mostly the rider, skill.
Still reckoned to be somewhere around 70% rider, 30% the machine.
I think so, Tony. I think even on a track like this here today, it would be just about more. On a dry track, very dry, hard, fast track, the relationship might be closer, but it's a tricky circuit like today.
Comes down to which rider can keep the throttle open for the longest periods of time, get the traction on the ground and find the easiest way through all of the obstacles that there are, many of which are not put in with the design of the circuit, but end up with the circuit roughening up. There's the checkered flag for David Furst from New Plymouth, winning in commanding style the second race of the day, the 250, from Daryl King, who had already won the 125, now a second in the 250 class. And in third place, it's Scott Smith on the CR250. A long way back in third. We'll confirm the placings in just a moment. And the result of that race for 250 and open machines, David Furse hung on fourth. First place, Darrell King riding brilliantly up in second, but quite a ways back. And Murray Anderson, the only one of the big bikes to come through on the YZ490, making up third place. We'll be back in just a moment with more motor. A 20-minute race made up of different classes of bikes. On the front row, starting on the grid, we have the slower 125 and 250 enduro bikes, the 125 motocross and the enduro machines. On the second row, the 250 motocross bikes, and on the third row, the big 500s having to come through from the back. They'll start in waves, so expect the whole shot to go to somebody off that front row in the 125 or enduro class, and then the 250s and 500s will have to come through from behind. So it will be interesting to see how long it takes some of the riders on the bigger machinery at the back in this staggered start to get through. Certainly you would expect the front row of 125 motocross and enduro riders to get the whole shot. Terry Meeks in there in the middle. Terry Tiersen. Bourdonnais from Tahiti. There's a good lineup on that front row. A lot of tension building now as the engine revs start to build. We're not far from a start now in this super sprint race of 20 minutes duration. Just wait for that string to be pulled up. This is the best possible lineup I think you could have at a motocross meeting in New Zealand, and may well be a true test with 20 minutes. Murray Anderson is one man we would expect to be advantaged by the 20-minute duration as opposed to 10 minutes. Stamina normally tells with him, but he's still suffering a little from the injury of a couple of weeks ago. A mad scramble, and 3 or 4 down already. Well, notice these riders trying to get back into the race. One of them is Darrell King, who would have been one of the favourites. Darrell King, number 11 there, losing a great deal at the front of the race. Already we have a race leader. Very quickly, David Furse.
Straight into the lead he goes, whole shot from the back, from the second row there.
Seems that the St. John Zambucks are going to be needed from that crash. We hope it's not too serious, but obviously somebody hurt him on the track. We may even get a restart because he's still on the circuit. David Furse very quickly out into the lead on the 250, and already starting to build on that lead. We'll see when they come round whether or not the circuit is blocked or deemed to be blocked by the ACU official here.
A couple of 125s there behind David Furse. They're keeping up pretty well with him. Might lose a little bit on the start, but once the race is going, circulate pretty good. 125 CC machines against the 250s.
It seems that the race is going to continue. Remember, this is a 20-minute race, not a 10-minute sprint, known as a super sprint, with the big mixture of all the bikes that are in there. Jody Bates on the KX125 up there doing well as well.
Number 31, Jody Bates there is in second place on the 125.
So at this early stage, it looks like a 250-125 benefit. David Furse, we've already seen in good form today. Yellow flag's out for this jump.
Look who's coming through, number 1, Murray Anderson.
He's a man that we thought, said a little earlier, may benefit from the longer duration of the race. Murray Anderson, well known for his fitness and his ability to endure a longer race. He has the YZ490 Yamaha, so he's got the horsepower. And we would expect him to be up there and catching David Furse in the space of probably 4 or 5 laps. Already he's starting to narrow that gap.
Oh, Murray's down. Yes, throw it away there. Died on the power a little bit early, coming out of that tight left-hander.
He's got it up again. He's lost 1 place.
Luckily the bike didn't stall and kept running. Starting these big YZ490 single-cylinder 2-strokes can be a little bit of a chore sometimes, especially when the heat of a race, when you're lying on the ground, stalled beside the circuit. But He was lucky. He's away again, back at about 4th place, so can he come through again?
Lost 1 place initially and another 2 trying to get it started. So David Furs led off the hook again.
Still number 31 there. In 2nd place in the little 125, that's Jody Bates.
Oh, just look at the style of David Furs.
Makes it look so easy, Tony, so easy.
Little wonder he cleared away with the 250 race.
Already lapping a rider there, number 49, a lap behind. But down goes our 2nd place and 3rd place.
Well, Murray Anderson has made some advantage from that. Jody Bates going down and taking the man behind him.
Number 4, Ross Saunders from Tauranga, the big RM500 Suzuki. He went down as well. Not a good day for Ross so far.
Well, what incredible luck for Murray Anderson. Now he has to make up that gap between 1st and 2nd. I think he's inherited 2nd place again now. Jody Bates back up and Ross Saunders back up. But they've lost several places in the process. And still this man David Furs out in front, running away from them. That should leave us with Murray Anderson in 2nd place.
Hard to believe that Furs is only 17 years old, isn't it? He just looks so experienced, strong.
When you look at the riding style, it just reeks of experience. And at 17 years old, he's been riding for 13 years. Started when he was ludicrously young. Some of these riders almost able to handle a bike before they can run.
Number 1, Murray Anderson there in 2nd place. The letter V, that's Carl Van Uden from Tahiti. He's back there in 3rd place on the big Honda CR500.
Let's see if we can follow Murray Anderson for just a little while as David Furs clears out. There he is, number 15, the race leader. And just see if we can see what Murray Anderson is making up to close that gap.
I think he's making up quite a bit, Tony. I think the Anderson's getting pressure there from Carl Van Uden.
David Furs out there in 1st place. Having a look back for the gap to Murray Anderson.
There's Murray Anderson gone through now there in 2nd place. He may have been passed there by Van Uden. It's hard to tell at the moment, but race still belongs to number 15, David Furs. Look at those lines he's picking. He's really using his head. Get away from the ruts and the slippery stuff. Comes out wide, takes the corner tight. Up the green grass to get the most traction and smoothest ride.
There's David Furs. See if we can see the gap back now to Murray Anderson. Back markers between he and 2nd place.
There he goes, number 1, Murray Anderson. By himself there in 2nd place. Quite a way back though.
Let's have a look at the riding style of Murray Anderson. As we told you a little earlier, the last televised meeting we did at Thornbury Park in Dunedin, which was a Supercross, he had a very nasty crash. The front wheel tucked under on him on the landing from a jump, and he landed very heavily on his neck, putting his neck out. And since then he has had some treatment, and while he can turn to the right, he can't turn his head to the left. He's still suffering some pain from that. But he always keeps his fitness to a very high level, and a 20-minute race should suit him if it suits anyone. The YZ 490 with all the horsepower, Murray Anderson with the strength to hang on to it, and with the stamina to last a 20-minute race.
Murray's looking really good, Tony. He's looking well in control. Just needs a bit of luck now. Clear run. The lapping riders at will round the circuit now.
I notice when you watch him for a couple of laps, even looking in practice, he doesn't really seem to have that extra little edge of confidence that was always his hallmark.
That's right. He looks very sedate, very in control at the moment, which is not quite him. Letter V in shot now. We have Carl Van Uden from Tahiti on the big 500, the Honda CR500. But it's back to our race leader, number 15, David Furs. Maybe being held up a little by the lap riders now.
This will be a test of David Furs' ability getting through the traffic. In an earlier race where we saw him doing this, his ability to put traffic between he and the next rider was just superb.
Murray Anderson goes through in 2nd place still.
the 490's big horsepower to convert to traction.
I think Anderson's making up some ground on Furs now. Here's Furs in the tight left hand at the end of the straight, being held up a little bit. Look back at the back of the shot for Anderson. Anderson's there. Yes, not too far back now.
Well, this is a real test coming up for Murray Anderson.
On the start line for this race, there were 3 rows of riders, up to 30 in each row, so maybe up to 90 riders in this race, probably around 70 anyway, 70 riders in this race, so they're lapping the riders is a big problem, especially if the rider you're lapping is in your line. You have to take a different line that you're not used to.
Let's look back now for Murray Anderson.
Yes, he's
Murray Anderson being held up just a little too.
A little bit sideways, dial on the power a little bit early, tried to turn too tight. Back slid out. Lost time.
Well, I spoke to several riders in practice before the meeting started, and all of them were unanimous in saying that a 490 or a 500 would really be worthwhile using here because of how soft the track is. But it seems to me that the 500 riders have really had trouble getting on the gas out of corners, trying to get on a little early, and it's going round on them, losing forward motion and all being converted to side slip.
There's Furs, faraway shot, and Anderson on the left there. It's getting closer now.
So there's about 15 to 20 metres between them now. Looking for Anderson coming through. It's even less than that. Strangely enough, Murray Anderson doesn't appear to be making it up in the straightaway. And a lot of that is down to how quickly you can get the power pushing you forward. And it seems that the 250 has the ideal power to weight ratio for the surface that they're riding on. David Furs seems to be able to get away quicker at the start of a straightaway than Murray Anderson can.
There goes Furs through and Anderson.
I get the distinct impression that Anderson's just keeping him in his sights at this stage.
Murray's had a bad start the 2 races ahead so far. He's been off the back row and a lot of traffic to contend with, especially on the early laps of the race. So maybe now he's got a relatively wide open track in front of him, so he can do it a lot more justice. See the way Furs takes that line there. He goes right up the wide before the jump, comes across the jump diagonally to get a better shot at the straightaway.
It's almost as if the bike is giving him direction.
Just about, Tony. Down the big straightaway, down towards the tight left-hander now. Furs in front.
The thing about watching David Furs, the fascination with watching his style is that he seems to be able to balance poised on top of the bike regardless of what attitude the bike is at. Nothing seems to throw him offline. Murray Anderson is catching, but he doesn't seem to have caught in the last lap any more than that 10 to 12 metre gap that Furs has on him. I wonder how much of it is Murray Anderson staying there and keeping Furs in his sights. That could have been a nasty injury too. Now Furs being slowed again, but it seems that Murray Anderson gets slowed by the same traffic a little later than David Furs. Neither of them getting any real advantage through that traffic. Greg Brink up there, but a lap down.
Murray Anderson on the big YZ490. The bike's a lot more horsepower. It's a bigger bike physically. It's a lot heavier, so his riding style has to be different. Furs a lot lighter 250 bike is easy to throw around, and the power, there's not a lot down, only probably around 15% less power.
And about 20% more weight.
That's right.
So I think we have well and truly established that a 250 in the right hands is very competitive on this circuit. There doesn't appear to be any real advantage in having a 500. Because the 2 riders we're talking about, David Furs, who's leading, and Murray Anderson, number 1 in your picture now. Both have enormous experience. Both are very, very talented riders. And if it comes down to rider ability, it seems that the extra horsepower is not really giving anyone a great advantage where rider ability is equal. Number flying in the breeze off the back. Another fall. Certainly hasn't been any shortage of spills here today. That's the second one of the day.
For number 31, Jody Bates, the little 125 Kawasaki there. Front guard, mud guard missing there.
Trying to correct the handlebar attitude, but that's the second time he's been off on the same corner today. David Furse has not looked like falling off the bike. There are some parts of the circuit where he is getting through no more quickly than others. There are other parts of the circuit where he goes past people like the chain to the fence.
He's putting it all together.
Overall lap times end up quicker because he's discovered some very quick ways through a couple of the jumps here.
Changed his line this time. He going through on the left-hand side now. That's when Anderson passed him just before Murray fell off. Always experimenting to try and find a better line. On a track like this, the track changes every lap just about because there's so many bikes circulating around. The lines can change from one lap to the next.
And the nice little comfortable rut that you used last time round might not be there when you come to it next time round.
That's right, somebody could have roosted through it and demolished it for you.
This is where the natural talent and innate skills of a clever rider will come through. To be able to make split-second decisions and to stay on and with good balance right throughout. Some of the back markers coming through, some of them more than a lap down, being lapped as early as 3 laps into the race. Number 13, there's Warren Timpson. Even some of the big names of motocross have been lapped today.
1 lap to go now for number 15, David Furse. Makes his way up the big, long, straight, slightly uphill here.
Well, this could be the second win of the day for David Furse of New Plymouth. The super stylist who really has only been challenged once by Murray Anderson, who fell off immediately after doing it. Other than that, he has really ridden his own race right out in front from the start. I think Warren Timpson, with the consistent ride, is going to be in second place. We'll confirm them once again after the flag has dropped, just to make sure with 70-odd riders, many of whom have been lapped, that we get the right order for you. All David Furse's race at the moment, no challenges forthcoming on the last lap. Such is the lead that he has built with consistently clever riding, mastering this course. And there comes the checkered flag for David Furse of New Plymouth, his second win of the day. Warren Timpson on the RM250 from Paraparaumu is going to be second. And we'll check the third place getter for you in just a moment. We'll confirm the first three placings. So absolutely super riding in the super sprint from David Furs on the YZ250 Yamaha. He is the confirmed winner. In second place, Murray Anderson bravely getting up after 2 spills on the YZ490 Yamaha for second place. And in third place, the sneaky Terry Meeks on the 125 CR Honda.